Struggles are the silent sculptors of human destiny. They mold us in ways that comfort never could. When life is easy, we rarely grow. When life is hard, we are forced to dig deeper, to push further, and to discover layers of ourselves that we never knew existed. Every struggle that appears in front of us is like a chisel striking against the raw stone of our being, shaping us into something greater, something stronger, and something more resilient. Without those moments of difficulty, without the resistance, we would remain soft, untested, and unaware of what we are capable of. Think about a seed buried in the soil. It doesn't grow by sitting in the light immediately. It grows in the darkness, under pressure, pushing against the dirt and fighting to break through. That struggle to rise above the soil is what gives it strength. If someone tried to pull the seed out of the ground before it was ready, if someone tried to give it the easy path, it would never develop the toughness needed to withstand the wind, the rain, and the storms that will come later. In the same way, our struggles are not punishments but preparation. They are making sure that when we rise strong. Every person who has achieved greatness has gone through moments of deep struggle. If you read the stories of successful entrepreneurs, leaders, athletes, or artists, you'll find a common thread. Hardship shaped their character. They were told no more times than they could count. They failed in public. They were laughed at. They were rejected. They faced financial ruin, health crisis, or loneliness. And yet, through it all, they grew stronger. The struggle built in them a level of resilience that comfort could never give. It gave them endurance. It gave them grit. And it gave them perspective. When you're in the middle of a storm, you may feel broken, but in reality, the storm is stripping away the parts of you that can't carry you to the next level. It is testing whether you are truly ready for the blessing that lies ahead. You can't be trusted with success if you haven't learned how to handle struggle. If every door opened easily, if every dream fell into your lap without resistance, you would not value it the same way. Struggles put a weight on you, and just like lifting weights builds muscles, lifting struggles builds inner strength. Imagine a person who has never been challenged, who has had every comfort and convenience. When life inevitably throws them a curveball, they crumble because they have no foundation. On the other hand, someone who has wrestled with difficulties, who has been knocked down and gotten back up, carries within them a quiet confidence. They know storms don't last forever because they've lived through storms before. That's the gift of struggle. It doesn't just prepare you for the present, it prepares you for the future battles you haven't even faced yet. When life feels heavy, it is easy to see the struggle as punishment, but a shift in perspective changes everything. Struggle is not life working against you. It is life working for you. It is the universe training you for something greater. You are being conditioned for strength, for endurance, and for a story that will inspire others. If you look back at your own life, you will notice that some of the greatest lessons, the deepest wisdom, and the strongest parts of your character came from times when things were not easy. We don't grow when life is smooth. We don't develop character sitting in comfort zones. We grow when we're stretched, when we're uncomfortable, when we're uncertain, and when we're tested. Those tests carve discipline, humility, and courage into our hearts. Struggles remove arrogance and replace it with empathy. They humble us, they strengthen us, and they prepare us to handle the responsibilities of success with wisdom. So when you find yourself facing struggles, instead of asking, why me? Begin to ask, what is this building in me? Because the truth is, every single challenge is an opportunity in disguise. It is a signal that you are being prepared, that your character is under construction, and that something inside of you is growing stronger than before. The road may be hard, but every step you take is making you more resilient. And in time, you will see that the struggle wasn't there to defeat you. It was there to prepare you for the comeback that is waiting on the other side. Pain is one of life's most powerful teachers. It doesn't arrive without a reason, and though it may feel unbearable in the moment, it always carries within it a message, a lesson, and a purpose. Every tear, every heartbreak, every failure is not wasted. Life has a way of using pain as the very soil in which strength and resilience are planted. If you look back on your life, the moments that pushed you to the edge were the very ones that taught you the most. They awakened something inside of you that comfort and ease never could. When you're going through pain, it is natural to ask, why? Why did this happen to me? Why now? Why like this? Yet, in time, those same experiences that seemed unbearable begin to reveal their meaning. A lost job forces you to pursue a passion you never thought you could. A broken relationship teaches you self-worth and the power of boundaries. A failure in business sharpens your skills and your persistence for the next attempt. Pain is never random. It may disguise itself as loss, rejection, or disappointment, but beneath the surface, it is molding you into someone greater. Pain teaches empathy. Someone who has walked through darkness develops a compassion for others that cannot be faked. You learn to see struggle in other people's eyes because you've felt it in your own soul. That is why the people who have endured the deepest pain often carry the most powerful presence. They don't need to speak loudly to be heard. Their very being communicates strength. Their scars tell stories of survival, and those stories inspire others to keep moving forward. There is also a sharpening effect in pain. Just like fire refines gold by burning away impurities, pain refines our character by removing what no longer serves us. It eliminates arrogance, pride, and superficiality. When you go through pain, you realize what truly matters. The small things you once worried about fade into the background. You begin to appreciate life in its simplest forms: health, relationships, purpose, peace. Pain redirects your focus from what is shallow to what is deep, from what is temporary to what is eternal. Many of the world's greatest achievements were born out of pain. Leaders who changed nations, inventors who revolutionized industries, artists who moved generations, all of them carried stories of struggle. Their pain was the birthplace of their creativity, their resilience, and their hunger. The Wright brothers faced countless failures before flight. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before the light bulb. Nelson Mandela endured decades of imprisonment before leading his country into freedom. Each of them could have let pain defeat them, but instead, they let pain define their mission. Pain is also a motivator. Nothing lights a fire inside a person more than discomfort. When you're in pain, you are pushed to change, to act, to move. Comfort breeds complacency, but pain forces transformation. It doesn't let you stay the same. That's why some of the biggest breakthroughs in people's lives come after their darkest seasons. The struggle awakens a hunger for more, and that hunger becomes unstoppable fuel for growth. There is a hidden power in looking at pain not as an enemy, but as an ally. When you shift your perspective, you start to see pain as proof that you are still alive, that you still have a chance to rise, and that something better can be born from the ashes. Pain means that life is stretching you, that you are on the edge of becoming someone new. And when you decide to embrace it instead of running from it, you take back your power. The beauty of pain is that it does not last forever. Wounds heal, scars remain, but scars are proof that you survived. They are reminders that you made it through something that once felt impossible. Over time, pain transforms into wisdom. It becomes the foundation of your strength and the evidence of your resilience. What once made you cry becomes the very thing that gives you courage. What once broke you becomes the reason you now stand taller. So when life hurts, remember that the pain is not in vain. It is working behind the scenes to shape your destiny, to refine your spirit, and to prepare you for what's ahead. Every ounce of suffering carries within it the seed of growth, and if you endure, if you refuse to give up, that seed will blossom into strength, resilience, and a story powerful enough to inspire countless others. Failure is one of the most misunderstood parts of life. Many people see it as an ending, as proof that they are not good enough, but the truth is that failure is never final unless you choose to stop trying. Every successful person you admire has walked through a series of failures, each one shaping them, teaching them, and preparing them for the victories that came later. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of the journey to success. Without it, growth would be impossible. When you stumble, when your plans collapse, when you give your best and it still falls short, it can feel devastating. The sting of failure carries embarrassment, disappointment, and self-doubt. But within that moment lies a powerful opportunity. Failure is feedback. It reveals what doesn't work. It shows where adjustments are needed. And it pushes you to think differently. If you embrace it instead of fearing it, failure becomes your greatest teacher. Lessons learned in failure sink deeper into your soul than lessons learned in comfort. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall countless times, yet no one calls them a failure. Each fall strengthens their muscles, sharpens their balance, and builds their determination. Eventually, they walk with confidence. Adults, however, often forget that falling is part of learning. They give up too soon, labeling themselves as incapable when, in reality, they were only one more attempt away from a breakthrough. The process is the same at every stage of life. Falling is a step towards standing tall. History is filled with examples of people who turned failure into greatness. Michael Jordan, widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was once cut from his high school basketball team. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. These individuals didn't allow failure to define them. Instead, they used it as fuel, as a reminder to keep going until success became inevitable. Their comebacks would never have been possible without their setbacks. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you get up after being knocked down, you strengthen the part of yourself that refuses to quit. That resilience becomes an unshakable foundation for your future. Life will always present obstacles, but when you've tasted failure and survived, you gain confidence that nothing can hold you down permanently. You stop fearing rejection because you know you can rise again. That shift in mindset is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who give up halfway. Another gift of failure is humility. Success can sometimes inflate the ego, making us believe we are untouchable. Failure brings us back to reality, reminding us that growth is a continuous process. It keeps us grounded, aware that we still have much to learn. That humility makes us more open to feedback, more willing to adapt, and more prepared to handle the responsibilities of future success with wisdom. Without failure, pride can blind us. With failure, our vision becomes clearer. What makes failure so powerful is not the event itself, but how we respond to it. Two people can fail in the same way, yet one sees it as the end while the other sees it as the beginning of a new strategy. The difference lies in perspective. If you see failure as permanent, it will defeat you. If you see it as temporary, it will empower you. Your response to failure determines whether it becomes a stumbling block or a stepping stone. The fear of failure stops more dreams than failure itself ever could. People hesitate, procrastinate, and hold back because they are afraid of looking foolish or being judged. But the truth is, you cannot succeed without failing along the way. The only way to avoid failure is to avoid trying, and that choice guarantees regret. It is better to try and stumble than to never take the chance at all. Regret lasts longer than failure, and it weighs heavier on the soul. Every failure carries within it the seed of success. The project that didn't work out, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers, all of them carry lessons that prepare you for something better. When you shift your perspective, you begin to see failure not as a wall, but as a door. Sometimes it closes on you, but it always points you toward another path. That new path often leads to something greater than you originally imagined. So when you face failure, remind yourself that it is not final. It is part of the process. It is proof that you are in the arena, that you are daring to do something meaningful. Each setback is building a stronger, wiser, and more determined version of you. If you keep standing back up, if you keep moving forward, failure loses its power over you. Eventually, what once seemed like defeat will reveal itself as preparation for the success you were destined to achieve. Setbacks have a way of feeling like endings. When a door closes, when an opportunity slips away, or when something you've worked hard for falls apart, it can leave you with a sense of emptiness. But if you look closely, setbacks are rarely the final word. They are often the redirection that leads you towards something better, something more aligned with your true path. What feels like rejection in the moment can actually be protection or preparation. Life has a way of shutting doors that are not meant for us so that we can discover the ones that are. Every person experiences moments when they feel as if the world is against them. You prepare, you sacrifice, you put your heart into something, and still it doesn't work out. The disappointment can cut deep. Yet, if you trace back the story of your life, you will notice that some of your greatest blessings came not from the doors that opened easily, but from the setbacks that forced you to shift directions. The relationship that ended made room for the one that truly valued you. The job you didn't get pushed you to pursue your passion. The opportunity you lost taught you skills and resilience that you wouldn't have developed otherwise. What looked like failure was in fact a setup for something greater. The truth is, setbacks slow us down only long enough to prepare us for the right timing. Sometimes we are not ready for what we want. We may think we are, but life sees further down the road than we do. A setback is often life's way of saying, not yet. There's still something you need to learn, some strength you need to build, some preparation you need to complete. When you shift your perspective to see setbacks as preparation rather than punishment, You begin to trust the process instead of fighting against it. Setbacks also refine clarity. They force you to ask yourself why you want something and how badly you are willing to work for it. If every path were smooth, you would never question your motives, never test your commitment. A setback draws out your hunger. It demands that you either give up or dig deeper. And in that digging, you often discover a stronger reason to keep going, a sharper vision for your dream, and a resilience that no success story without struggle could ever create. There are countless examples of people whose setbacks became the launching pads for their greatest comebacks. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he co-founded, only to return years later and lead Apple into a new era of innovation. These individuals did not allow rejection to become their reality. They saw the setback as a signal to keep moving, to learn, and to eventually rise stronger. Their comebacks would not have been possible without the very moments that felt like endings. Another hidden gift of setbacks is the wisdom they bring. Success often teaches us very little because it makes us comfortable. Setbacks, on the other hand, demand reflection. They push us to analyze what went wrong, what could be improved, and what should be done differently next time. That wisdom is invaluable. It builds a foundation for future success, one that is sturdier and more sustainable because it was tested under pressure. Without the lessons of setbacks, success can be fleeting. With them, success becomes lasting. It is also important to remember that setbacks shift perspective, not just for yourself, but for the people who are watching your journey. When others see you fall and then rise again, they are inspired to believe in their own ability to rise. Your story of resilience becomes a source of strength for those around you. Sometimes your comeback is not only for you, but also for the countless lives that will be touched by your courage to keep going. So when a setback comes, instead of seeing it as the end of the road, see it as a bend in the road. Life is not closing a door to harm you, but to guide you toward the door you were meant to walk through. Rejection is often redirection. What you think you lost may not have been meant for you, or perhaps it wasn't meant for you yet. Trust that the setback is shaping you, preparing you, and aligning you for the right opportunity at the right time. Every disappointment carries within it the seed of a new beginning. And if you are willing to keep moving forward, that seed will blossom into the comeback you were destined to experience. Hunger is the invisible force that fuels every great comeback. It is the fire that keeps you moving forward when everything around you tells you to quit. Without hunger, obstacles become permanent. Without hunger, rejection becomes defeat. But with hunger, no mountain is too high, no setback is too final, and no dream is too impossible. Hunger is the difference between those who stop at failure and those who rise again stronger than before. When life knocks you down, you will not rise again by accident. You rise because something inside you refuses to stay down. That something is hunger. Hunger is not just desire, it is a burning necessity. Desire says, I'd like to have it. Hunger says, I must have it. I cannot live without it. Desire can be pushed aside by comfort, but hunger will not be ignored. Hunger wakes you up earlier, keeps you awake longer, and pushes you to give more effort than you ever thought possible. The struggle awakens hunger because it strips away excuses. When you've lost, when you've been rejected, when you've faced failure, you are forced to decide, do I settle here or do I fight back? That decision reveals the size of your hunger. Struggle is the testing ground where hunger is born. When you're comfortable, you don't fight. When you're comfortable, you don't stretch. But when you're hungry, you go beyond your limits. That's why hunger is essential for any true comeback. Every champion carries a story of hunger. Athletes who trained in the early morning while others slept, entrepreneurs who worked in basements and garages when nobody believed in them, dreamers who kept knocking on doors after being turned away 100 times. What kept them going was not talent alone, but hunger. Talent can be wasted, intelligence can be ignored, and opportunities can be missed, but hunger refuses to die. Hunger creates persistence, and persistence creates breakthroughs. Hunger also sharpens focus. When you are hungry for a dream, distractions lose their power. You stop wasting energy on things that do not serve your vision. You cut off negative voices, toxic habits, and empty pursuits because hunger demands your full attention. A person who is hungry is not easily swayed. They are locked in on the goal, and that intensity attracts opportunities that others overlook. Hunger fuels resilience. When rejection comes, hunger says, try again. When failure comes, hunger says, one more attempt. When the world says no, hunger whispers, keep going. Without hunger, you accept defeat as final. With hunger, defeat becomes a temporary pause. That hunger turns setbacks into setups because you keep moving until something shifts. The comeback is never about luck. It is about refusing to stop because hunger won't let you. Hunger also transforms pain into power. When you have suffered, when you have been overlooked, when you have been told you're not enough, that pain can crush you or it can ignite you. Hunger takes that pain and converts it into fuel. It makes you determined not to waste the struggle you've endured. It turns every no you've heard into motivation to reach the yes you're chasing. Hunger makes your story too powerful to be ignored. The most dangerous person in the world is not the one with the most resources or connections, but the one with the most hunger. A hungry person will outwork, outlast, and outperform others because their heart is on fire. History has shown again and again that hunger breaks barriers. People without the right background, without the right education, without the right support have still risen to greatness because hunger carried them where talent alone could not. Hunger is contagious. When others see your determination, your unwillingness to give up, they are inspired to dig into their own hunger. Your fight becomes a mirror for them to see what is possible. That is why comebacks fueled by hunger are so powerful. They don't just lift the person making the comeback, they lift everyone watching. If you feel weak, if you feel like giving up, it is not strength you need first. It is hunger. Once hunger is awakened, strength follows. Once hunger takes root, you will find the energy, the courage, and the creativity to keep pushing forward. Hunger will carry you when motivation fades. Hunger will push you when discipline feels impossible. Hunger will remind you that your story isn't over until you win. The comeback belongs to the hungry. When life knocks you down, the question isn't whether you have the ability to rise. It's whether you have the hunger to rise. Because hunger will always find a way. Every struggle you overcome is bigger than you. The challenges you face, the pain you endure, and the battles you fight are not only shaping your life, but also creating a story that has the power to change others. When you rise from hardship, when you come back from defeat, your journey becomes a living testimony that inspires people who are watching silently. people who may be going through their own dark seasons. Your story becomes evidence that comebacks are possible, that strength can be found in the most broken places, and that no one has to give up just because they've been knocked down. People don't connect to perfection. They connect to authenticity. They are not inspired by flawless success stories that seem unattainable. What moves hearts is the story of someone who struggled, someone who fell, someone who felt the weight of failure and yet found the strength to rise again. That kind of story carries power because it's real. It shows vulnerability, and at the same time, it demonstrates resilience. When others see that you survived, they begin to believe that they can survive too. Your scars become a beacon of hope for those still in the fight. Think of the people who inspire you most. Chances are their lives were not without struggle. In fact, it is their struggles that make their victories meaningful. A person who never faced hardship may achieve success, but their story doesn't reach into the hearts of others the same way. But the one who overcame adversity, who battled doubt, who endured setbacks, and still rose, this is the story that gives people strength when they feel weak. This is the story that whispers, if they can make it, so can I. When you decide to keep going, when you refuse to give up, you are not just making a choice for yourself, you are paving a path for others. Someone out there is waiting for your story. They may not even know you, but they are watching, listening, and looking for a sign that it's possible to overcome what they are facing. By fighting your way through, you become that sign. You become proof that struggle is not the end, that failure is not final, and that comeback is always an option. This is why it's important not to hide your story once you rise. So many people carry silent battles, and they believe they are alone because they don't see others sharing their struggles. When you open up about what you've been through, you break the silence for someone else. You let them know they are not alone. Your story carries the power to lift burdens from people you may never meet simply because they saw themselves in you. Your story also builds legacy. Long after you're gone, the impact of your comeback can continue to echo. Think of leaders, thinkers, and everyday people whose stories have lasted generations. Their names are remembered not because life was easy for them, but because life was hard, and yet they rose above it. Their resilience continues to inspire people long after their time. In the same way, your story has the potential to ripple outwards, touching lives' in ways you may never fully realize. The beautiful part of sharing your story is that it transforms pain into purpose. What once hurt you becomes the very thing that heals others. What once made you question your worth becomes the reason others find theirs. Nothing is wasted when you choose to use your story to encourage, uplift, and strengthen those around you. The tears, the sleepless nights, the failures, the rejection, all of it gains meaning when you see how it fuels someone else's courage to keep going. Sometimes, the thought of inspiring others is what keeps you moving forward. Knowing that your struggle can one day help someone else can give you strength when you feel like giving up. It gives you a reason bigger than yourself to push through. And when you finally make it, when your comeback becomes reality, the victory tastes even sweeter because it is not just your win. It is a win for everyone who drew hope from your journey. Your story matters. Your comeback matters. It is not just about proving to yourself that you can rise, but also about showing others that they can rise too. The impact of your story can ripple further than you'll ever know, reaching hearts, breaking chains, and inspiring courage in places you cannot see. Every time you choose to fight, every time you choose to rise, you are not only rewriting your destiny, you are lighting the way for others to rewrite theirs.